Imagine that you had a die with an infinite amount of sides. If you rolled it, you could literally roll anything. Infinite sides means infinite outcomes. At least that's what we're told in Gravity Falls. Hey everybody, it is I, Mr. Trigus, and today I've got a little conundrum here. It has to do with the infinite-sided die in Gravity Falls. It's odd. In Gravity Falls' episode, Dungeons, Dungeons, and More Dungeons, Stanford says the following about his infinite-sided die.
If I rolled it, anything could happen. Our faces could melt into jelly. The world could turn into an egg. Or you could just roll an 8. Who knows? That's why I have to keep it in this protective, cheap plastic case.
But is this mathematically sound? I am the only person who thought of this when I watched this episode quite recently, because I'm just starting to watch the Gravity Falls episodes. Don't judge me. Don't spoil things either. Don't say anything in the comments. I want to be surprised. Anyway. Let's say I wanted to roll a 2 on this infinite-sided die. What are my chances of getting a 2? On a normal die, it would be 1 in 6, because there's 6 possible outcomes. But our die has an infinite amount of sides. Our rolling chances of rolling a 2 are 1 over an infinite number. Let's go back to the normal die. How many possible outcomes are there other than a 2? We take the total number of outcomes, 6, and we subtract the one that we have, and that leaves us 5. But we can't do that with the infinite die. Infinity minus 1 is still going to be infinity. That means it would be literally impossible for us to roll our 2. We would have to roll something else. But if it's impossible to roll a 2, it would also be impossible to roll a 3. And a 4. And a 5. You see where I'm going with this? If we cannot roll one number, we can't actually roll anything, and that goes against the logic of having an infinite amount of outcomes. So, how far would our supposed range of the die include? If it has infinite outcomes, does that mean contradictions should be included? How large of an infinite are we talking about? There are very many varying levels of infinities that are larger than others. Is it a countably infinite number, or an uncountably infinite? Well, I can answer one of those. This die should be an uncountable infinite range, because I assume that the shape of the die is a perfect sphere. But if it's a perfect sphere, it can't ever land on a side, because its sides are always going to be smaller than the side beside it. Because of the perfect spherical shape, that also means that it's technically a one-sided die, and it will always have the same outcome. Like if you rolled a ping pong ball. You can't get a side. This die might have even been created by Probabilitor himself to bring himself to life, since his fate was sealed away being in the character in Dungeons, Dungeons, and More Dungeons. It's always a possibility. Fun fact. You can also have a one-sided die be a Mobius strip, since it's a one continuous side. It wouldn't be very practical, since it has a 100% chance of landing on a 1, but I just thought it would be cool to mention. If the infinite-sided die was real, it wouldn't be fair. Infinity isn't even or odd, and it couldn't have the shapes of its sides be the same. Because what shape can you put together in a tessellation to make a sphere? There's not one. The largest number of sides a die can have, that would still be fair, is a 120-sided die. Its faces are so small that it has a hard time stopping once you roll it. It's called the Decidiax Triacontraheron. Yes, I took like 17 takes on that. There's a 144-sided die, but I couldn't really find any valid evidence to make sure it was fair, and I couldn't find a name for the 144-sided die, so I just went with the 120. If you want to learn more about dice, I have a video link right here. It'll take you to the Numberphile channel, because I like to watch the Numberphile channel, and I just found it since I was doing some research on dice, and I thought, hey, this goes with what I'm talking about, so why not show it here? Lost? Frightened? Confused? Good! That's a reference to I Am Mean. Okay. No one likes my references. So in short, this dice cannot exist, even on its own terms. It contradicts itself a countably infinite amount of times, so I declare this object paradoxical. Thank you everybody for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Goodbye.